Hey, good morning. This is Mayor Waites. I want to welcome you guys back to the Baker Forward podcast, and this is our second show. And we're really excited this morning about the guests that we have. You guys know, who's here. You can see him now. We want to introduce to some of you guys that don't know. This is Congressman Graves, all the way from Washington D.C., but really from Baton Rouge. But he's here to talk about some things that are really important to us now as we move forward into 2024. Good morning. How are you?
Hey, I'm doing great, Mayor. How about you?
All right. How's your family?
Family's doing fantastic.
All right. How was your flight in?
Things were okay. I did have to. I think if I timed myself, I probably would have set a record running to make the plane because we had votes late on the weekend, and I didn't think I was going to make the flight, but I made it, and everything was good coming down.
Well, I'm glad you're here this morning. And I know we got some other things that we can talk about a little later, but I wanted you to come by this morning because here's what's going on. The co-meat diversion canal, okay? I remember you talking about that years ago, but I can see where we're starting to benefit from the decision that you made, the work that you put into that. And I wanted you to talk to the people and talk to them. What was your goal in the beginning to do this, and what's your goal from this point forward?
Sure. Look, Mayor, I think a fundamental role of government is addressing things like infrastructure. And so, yeah, that means roads and bridges, but it also means things like flood protection. Look, the reality is, and in my case, and I'm guessing in yours as well, the most valuable asset you have is where you live.
Right.
And so, for those people that choose to buy a home, you are going to be putting so much money into it over years, in fact, over decades. And so we've got to have that asset protected.
Right.
And it's not just for people who own their homes, even people who rent. If you have water coming in, the whole thing's destroyed, and it devalues not just your home, your car, property, but it devalues the entire community. And so one of the things about the co-meat diversion project, it is a game changer project. Most people don't realize this, but everything from St. Francisville south doesn't drain into the Mississippi River. It all drains way down, A-meat, co-meat, down into Lake Maurepas, into Lake Pontchartrain, Lake Bourne, and out to the Gulf of Mexico. So what happens is that one little river system, the co-meat and the A-meat, it gets backed up when we have big storms, like we saw in 2016 and other times. So we've got two major efforts. Number one is coming in and doing a bunch of work on internal drainage. So trying to do clearing and snagging and things like that, just allowing canals to flow better. But the second is literally changing the plumbing to where we now have a new 12-mile river that will go from the co-meat all the way over to the Mississippi River, connecting that. So it's going to give us huge new capacity to drain water, to help to improve the resiliency of our communities, prevent flooding, and make this a safe place to live, to invest, and to create more opportunity for jobs, more economic development, and ultimately make homes and our property more valuable at the end of the day.
Awesome. The deal is that the conversations, the chatter that I've had with people is that we waited a long time. I think it was possibly maybe about 25, 30 years for this thing to happen. People paid into it. What did you do to come in and get it done in the amount of time that you got it done? You were focused. It was like you willed it. What did you do to get it going?
First of all, Mayor, look, this is my background. I've been doing infrastructure work since probably illegally since I was 13 years old.
Right.
Statute of limitations has passed. My dad's passed, so everything's okay. But in any case, look, I watched as this project just sat there and languished, just sat there and stalled out for decades. And so as soon as I came in, the very first month I came into office, we got $10 million for the project. A few months later, we got an additional $7 million. Look, bottom line is that, I'll say it again, this is a fundamental role of government, is doing infrastructure.
Right.
And government has got to focus on its fundamentals. And so knowing the flood risk that our community had, we got money right away. And of course, when 2016 flood happened, you saw how devastating that was to the community. We're going to look at the high school later.
Right.
And so we came in, I brought about a dozen members of Congress in from around the country and said, you've got to see this, you've got to see this. We came right here to Baker, came to Zachary, went over to Central and a few other communities looking at the devastating floods. And I explained to them that we cannot allow this to continue to just sit here and tread water. We've got to build this project. So Mayor, without going through all the details, that project today is going to be $1 billion, $1 billion. And so we started with 10 million, then got 6 or 7 million, but ultimately over about a 3-year period pulled together all the money that was needed to fund this project. And so it's $1 billion. It's going to get finished. We have had all kinds of curveballs thrown at us because I know you and I have worked through things like utilities, have worked through some of the pipeline issues and continuing to do that. But at the end of the day, this project is fully funded. It's going to get finished, and it is going to be a game changer for our community together with some of the other smaller clearing and snagging and cleaning out drainage canals. It's going to be a game changer in terms of improving flood protection for this area. And the other thing is that it's going to lower our flood insurance rates, which is a huge win as well.
That's going to be the big deal. So you said we talk about game changer. Here it is with the thought process of men and women like me. Local government, mayors, council people, we're closer to the people than anybody else. A lot of times in the past, we've lost the confidence that the things that are talked about in Washington, D.C., the things that we talk about doing in Washington, D.C., they never reach this level. Yeah. This is huge. It is a game changer for that. How do you feel about that?
Oh, look, you got a map right there. Whenever I would take out maps and try and show people in Washington, look, we need money for this right here, and they're looking, they're like, where is that? Is that New Orleans? No, it's not New Orleans. This is where people live, and there was just a disconnect. People are like, why are we going to spend hundreds of millions of dollars right here? And so that's why I started bringing people down, and we flew them in helicopters, showing them everything. We took them on the ground and showed them, but really being here was I think the thing that changed their minds, and where they at first were opposed to it became advocates, and it has been awesome. But the reason this is so important is because, look, this community will I think just die on the vine. I think it will dwindle because people have gone through floods, but you can do it once, you can maybe do it twice.
Right.
After that, you're like, you know what? I'm not doing this anymore. Right. And you remember this, and I remember this. You go driving down some of these streets, and you look on the side of the road, and you saw everything that people had.
That's right.
I mean, it was scrapbooks.
That's right.
It was family heirlooms.
That's right.
It was carpet clothes. I mean, it's just. And the people just standing there, you could just see the hopelessness in their face.
Right.
And so powerful. And I just remember our resolve after that, like, we're not going to ever let this happen again. And so we're going to invest in this project, which this is a huge project. It's really important, but we have to keep in mind, this project was designed for the 1980s.
That's right.
So, something I know you always talk about, and because you talk about this in your transportation planning and others, we need to be thinking about the future. We don't need to be planning for 2024. We need to be planning for 2034.
That's right.
And so that's why we've come in and we've secured all these additional dollars, thinking about what the future needs to look like, and how we need to be investing for not the community we have, the community we want.
That's right.
And so that's why we've been able to come in and secure these extra dollars and really make sure that we're planning for the city of Baker that you envision, the community envisions for the future.
This whole area. And so just to let you know that your work was not in vain. That whole area on 964 is starting to build up now. They're planning right now to build 1,000 more houses. Okay, from Groom Road up to Head Young, 1,000 new homes.
And that's because
unincorporated.
Mayor.
That's because maybe it's because of that. Maybe because we have a good congressman, somebody that is going to speak up for us. But here's what's happening. That is going to bring in dollars. It's in an unincorporated area, an area where no one was living there. So they got to change the roads. That's going to create jobs. They're creating jobs by building there. I have an opportunity now from the city of Baker to plug into those homes because I have a utility. So that's just going to raise revenue for me. And then it's going to bring more people to help fill capacity for all the area schools here and all this area here. in 25, 30 years, that whole area is not going to look the same. And I don't know where we're going to be here, but it is something to be excited about because the future is bright for that whole area. Yeah. Now, in that area, there's white people, black people, all kind of different people there. So what you've done and the people that help you, you've actually said, here's the dream. This is what we talked about. We've talked about how government works and how it should trickle down. It's a philosophy. A lot of people call it a philosophy, but it's what those young men and women die for every day in their uniform, for that flag, to be able to have conversations with people at different levels to get things done. Now, it's not gonna always be right, and I understand that, but it's working. Mm-hmm. So your work, and go back and tell them, okay, it was good work. It's good work. But if we can get a couple of more things like that where we work together, and that was bipartisan. That wasn't just one. That was people coming together to do that. And so I believe that if we continue to have conversations and look at the reality of where we're going to be and where we want our country to be, I think we can do more things like this.
You know, Mayor, I think you're exactly right, and I love that you brought up the fact that it's bipartisan. I love the fact that you brought up that the community that's growing is a very diverse community, because, you know, what we're seeing in politics right now is that everything is a fight. Everything is a fight.
Right.
And you know, the reality is we probably spend 90% of our time focusing on the 10% of things we disagree on.
That's right.
And that doesn't make sense. What we need to be doing is we need to be spending 95% of our time, right, 99% of our time on the 90% of things we agree on. Because, right, you know, the reason a community expands, the reason people want to invest in the area along 964 and grow, is because people crave security and safety.
Exactly.
And so if we're making investments in flood protection and saying this is a safe place to live,
right,
if it's a safe place because, you know, crime is low, if it's a safe place because there's economic security or safety, there are jobs that are available, if it's a good place because schools, they have opportunity to teach the kids and the kids to grow and accomplish whatever dream they may have, that's what attracts people.
That's right.
And the thing is, think about what I just said. I talked about flood protection, I talked about jobs, I talked about crime, I can throw in roads.
That's right.
Who's opposed to that?
No.
Who's opposed to it? Nobody
right.
is. But you know what? That's not the stuff that people, that politicians are often
right,
focused on.
Right.
They're focused on the things that they're fighting about.
Right.
So what we need to do is we really need to change that paradigm, and we need to be focused on the things that government has a responsibility to do, like the Comey project,
That's
like
right.
flood protection,
right,
like getting the roads and addressing traffic issues. Heck, getting a new bridge. Right?
That's right.
Let's focus on those things, because that's really the role of government. It's what the community craves,
right,
and that's the job of mayors. It's the job of members of Congress, and we've got to stop this crazy direction where everything is so polarized and divisive.
It's true. So, you know, and I'm going to close with this, and we'll take a break. A lot of people ask me, how did you meet the congressman? Well, during the flood, he showed up. You remember? You showed up here. Water was everywhere, and they came in, and I didn't know you. And you remember that? You remember when you came out? Yeah. And they said, Mayor, and I had been in office 30 days. Just 30 days. Said, this tall white guy outside said he's here to help you. And that's how we met. And we've been rolling from that point on, because I think that, you know, some people don't realize it, but people, Americans have more in common than they think. A lot of times we let the way we look, the color of our skin get in the way, but everything we do is from the heart. And because at the end of the day, that's all that matters. They die from the heart. They die because they love this country, you know, and I'm military. So I'm always going to do it. They love it. No matter how bad it is at home, they're going to come together. But when we working for them, when we come out and we do this, have to do it from the heart. You didn't have to be here that day, that night. You didn't know me. You were here because you saw what was going on. And you've been digging in ever since. So we're going to go across the street to this school here where you helped a lot with that. And but I appreciate the work that you do. And I just hope that the relationship that we have, both professionally and personally, can spread out throughout our country, throughout the parish, throughout this state, and show people that it does not matter. The letters does not matter. You can be passionate about that, but at the end of the day, we're just trying to get something done for the people who depend on us to get it done. So I want to thank you for your work, and I appreciate you what all you put into it. So I mean. I'll leave the last few words to you. You can talk to your people in your district. Just tell them what you want. We'll give you a few minutes. Just tell them what you want them to know.
Sure. Yeah. Well, hey, Mayor, I just want to say thank you, first of all. And, one of the things about the relationship with the mayor is because we built this relationship, this friendship. We've worked together on projects like the school, like the Comey project and drainage and flooding issues. We can work, and we've developed trust to where the mayor can call me when he says, I don't like the way you said this. You know what? Because we have that relationship.
Right.
Or I don't think you voted the right way.
Right.
And you've done it in a way that's respectful.
Right.
And to where you're clearly representing, your opinion, your community, and I appreciate that. And obviously, I'm going to say 99% of the time you call in to say, hey, this is great. We're working together and we're getting the right thing done for the community. But look, at the end of the day, I think what's most important is that we refocus our efforts on what government's supposed to be doing.
Right.
And let all this divisive stuff where we're fighting one another, let all that, we put it on the shelf for a minute. As we develop trust in our relationship, we develop trust in government as we're getting things done that are our responsibility and obligation. Then, as we develop that trust, we can start tackling some of those controversial things or the things that have been so divisive and polarizing for years. That's the way we're going to move this country forward, because I'll tell you, I'm very concerned whether you talk at the local level or you talk nationally. If we keep sitting here fighting with one another, that's all we're doing, America's going to get behind. Because these other countries, China, Russia, and others, they're going to pass us up as we're sitting here fighting with one another. Right. They thrive. They benefit from us in our conflict and fighting. And so, look, I just want to say thank you for giving me a chance and for being a friend and for the great relationship that we've had working together. And I think getting some huge wins for this community and looking forward to some more.
All right, we're going to move forward. So you guys listen, you don't ever get an opportunity like this. So take this podcast and go ahead and pass it on, share it with everybody. And you can always reach out to the congressman. They have their website. We'll put that out there. So if you guys have any other questions about what's going on, please do that. And you guys have a great day. And remember that God loves you and we love you too.